The New York State Attorney General announced a civil suit against Trump this week over alleged fraud in the family's real estate business.
The pattern of fraud and deception that was used by Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization for their own financial benefit is astounding.
And so what is the AG alleging, and how is the Trump campaign responding? Let's bring in former Trump attorney and also Newsmax contributor. There she is, Jenna Ellis. Jenna, let's hear a little bit more from the Attorney General regarding what she says is the basis for this suit.
Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization repeatedly and persistently manipulated the value of assets to induce banks to lend money to the Trump Organization on more favorable terms than would otherwise have been available to the company.
Now, Leticia James is accusing Trump of inflating the value of some of his assets, something that happens quite often in real estate. What exactly is she looking to achieve? What do you think, Jenna?
Well, she's obviously only looking to achieve a total takedown of Donald Trump because his name is Donald Trump. We've seen all of the montages since she announced this lawsuit that show that she was campaigning in her own election to Attorney General, that she specifically targeted President Trump and said that she wanted to take him down. And so with her vast resources, 3 years of investigations, Donald Trump is the most investigated man in America. This is all that she has. It's pathetic, and it shows that the Democrats only want to weaponize political office for political gain. That is not the function of the justice system nor of the Attorney General's office. She should be disbarred over this, and certainly ethics complaints should be brought against her, because this is just using her office for political gain herself.
You know, you brought up an interesting point, because you're right. She said, basically, I'm going to get Donald Trump. And even after all this time, she comes back with a civil suit. It wasn't a criminal suit. You know, if she had a criminal suit, she would have been announcing it. The other thing that's interesting is Bill Barr, of course, the former Attorney General for Trump, who's been kind of critical of the former president, as you know. He said he believes this is political. He said it's sort of part of Trump derangement syndrome. Do you think that just validates what you're saying?
Well, I think any reasonable person, whether you are pro-Trump, anti-Trump, or anywhere in between, will see very plainly that this is a political objective. It's not rooted in a good faith, meritorious claim. And so regardless of what you think of Donald Trump, I think even moderates and Democrats are seeing and really getting tired of the Democrats just using their office for their own political gain. I mean, the Attorney General of the state of New York and all of these other Democrats that are just out to get Trump need to be serving their actual constituents, not just targeting their political opposition. And when we're in an economy that is headed toward recession, when we see the crime that is all over the state of New York and elsewhere in Democratic-led cities, all of these things that impact regular Americans, I think everyone is tired of the Democrats just going after Trump rather than serving the American people.
Well, President Trump, of course, in his typical form, responded during his rally last night. This is in Wilmington, North Carolina. Take a listen, Jenna.
There's no better example of the left's chilling obsession with targeting political opponents than the baseless, abusive, and depraved lawsuit against me, my family, my company, by the racist Attorney General of New York State, Leticia Peekaboo James.
Well, he's got a new name, which made both of us laugh there. He also further said, yeah, classic, right? He also further said also that he thinks she should be disbarred. He said it's basically a political witch hunt. How do you think this plays into what he may do for 2024?
I don't think it'll impact him whatsoever. I mean, he has seen that the Democrats have been like little puppy dogs nipping at his heels while he has been the lion going after protecting America and standing firm and strong. And that's what they hate about him, is that no matter their manipulation tactics, their malicious prosecutions, their lies in the court of public opinion, nothing will stop Donald Trump because he cares about this country. And so I don't think this will have any impact at all other than motivating even Democrats to come out and vote Republican in the 2022 midterms and headed into 2024 so that we can get this country back on track, because they're so distracted with their myopic obsession of Donald Trump. They're not serving the American people. So I think this will only fuel him to come back with a vengeance and come back. And as he says in his rallies, we're going to take back the White House in 2024. So looking forward to that announcement if and when it comes. And I anticipate that we'll hear more from him after the midterms.
Yeah, I think so too, Jenna. I agree with you on that. Jenna, thank you so much. Great to have you here.
Great to see you. Happy Saturday.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the
truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
real news
For real people.